Call Phil Twyford, 5 minutes in reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me address the three objections that I heard from the members opposite. The first is that somehow my bill would result in the unintended consequence of putting housing supply at risk and causing large numbers of rental properties to suddenly no longer be able to be rented. Well, if the members opposite had actually taken the trouble to read the bill, they would understand that there's a 5-year phase-in period. Every time a tenancy agreement, a new agreement is signed, a landlord is required to meet the new prescribed standards. So on average, a tenancy agreement lasts 15 months. So over the period of the 5 years, it's easy to see. I think most normal people would understand that all of the rental properties would then would be brought up to scratch. The second objection that I heard from the members opposite was that somehow this is going to result in rents going up. And I asked the members to think about this. The projected cost, the estimated cost of retrofitting a standard 3-bedroom New Zealand home with heat pumps and insulation would cost about $5,000, according to the experts. A $5,000 cost that would have a 15-year lifetime, all right? Now, consider the average rent in New Zealand, or the median rent, I should say, is about $360 a week. Now, that rental property, a median New Zealand rental property, would generate a gross revenue stream over that 15 years of more than $280,000. So a $5,000 outlay to bring the house up to minimum standards to ensure that it's not a health hazard for the people living in it, compared to a gross revenue stream over the same time period of more than $280,000. On top of that, we all know that what sets rents is supply and demand, all right? That's why, over the last decade, rents have been relatively static in most New Zealand markets because there is a decent supply of rental properties, all right? That's why. And so supply and demand is going to mean that rents won't necessarily go up, and the member can't predict that with any confidence. So it's not at all true to suggest, Sue, that this bill will put rents up. They also try to say that the bill has unclear standards, but what the bill says is that the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Agency will be mandated to set standards, taking into account the economic and social reality of the day, and that will be required to update those standards regularly to ensure that they have a positive effect. So the arguments put up by the government members simply don't stack up. So why do National oppose this bill? And I think actually that Patrick Smelly, the journalist, had, I think, a very interesting theory about why National don't support this bill. And what he said was that National's electoral base tends to include large numbers of small, unprofessional, non-professional landlords, and they believe it would be politically unpalatable for them to be associated with regulating landlords. But what the members opposite seem to be completely oblivious to is that the Property Investors Federation of New Zealand have said that this bill is a sensible and pragmatic measure. They support it. So what's National doing by voting against this bill? It's standing on the side of the worst, bottom-of-the-barrel, ratbag landlords who are content to compete against other landlords by renting out slums, cold, damp housing that's not fit for people to live in. And National stands with those people. And Labour and the opposition parties on this side of the House, we stand with professional landlords who want to rent out good quality houses. We stand on the side of the 1/3 of New Zealanders who rent. 1/3 of the New Zealand people live in rental properties. They need warm, dry homes for their kids to grow up in. But the National members don't understand that. They are happy to stand on the side of slum landlords and against ordinary New Zealanders who want their kids to grow up in warm, dry homes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, this debate has concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The noes have it. A party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk to conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
32 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
11 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 vote opposed.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Members, the ayes are 60, the noes are 60. The motion is not agreed to. Members, the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Good evening.